crazy about his Jack Dynasty.
Phil Robertson was the central character of the American reality television series Duck Dynasty, which made him and his family household names. His show has been called by many a cultural phenomenon, as it shattered cable TV ratings and turned its popularity into a huge business enterprise. A&E became one of the most viewed cable channels in the U.S. just a year after the show was launched, but a few controversial revelations about him started a decline in the viewership. His appearance status in the series changed from the main cast member to a recurring member through to the time it was cancelled. Before Duck Dynasty became popular, Phil Alexander Robertson was just a regular family man trying to earn a living for his wife Kay and 4 sons Jephthah or Jep, Willie, Alan, and Jace. He was passionate about hunting and fishing, which made up his livelihood. The patriarch of the Robertson family was born on the 24th of April 1946 to parents Jason and Merritt Robertson. Phil was from a poor family, sharing a simple cabin with 6 siblings in Vivian, a small town in Caddo Parish, Louisiana. While Phil was growing up, his family encountered many difficulties. The house didn't have the luxury of modern facilities such as indoor plumbing and electricity. He described it as living in the 1850s, not the 1950s. He was trained to acquiring what he needed to live by physically, using his strength to survive. He also helped plant vegetables, took care of the cattle, and depending on the God-given wealth of the forest and the river to hunt for food. Despite the financial struggles, he said that he had a happy home. Due to Phil's gruff demeanor in Duck Dynasty, many people were surprised to know that Phil was highly educated and was also an all-state athlete. He had great stats when he played various sports in North Caddo High School, including football and baseball, as well as running track. However, it was his great skills in football, in which he was the team's quarterback, that paved an entrance to Louisiana Tech University, from which he graduated with a bachelor's degree in physical education, after which he taught for several years in Louisiana schools, earning for his family's upkeep. He attended more classes at night and eventually earned a master's degree in education. For 2 consecutive years, he was a starter of the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs and already attracted the attention of pro agents. However, playing football limited his other passion, which was hunting, and it annoyed the hell out of him. When he was asked back then to play for a professional football team in the National Football League, the then Washington Redskins, he declined the opportunity. Phil would often share the story of how his conversation went with a colleague back then, Terry Bradshaw, who became a quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He advised him to pursue being a professional athlete since he had a great arm and a passion for the sport. Phil, on the other hand, had another priority in life, saying, "I'm going after the Ducks full time. I'd rather hunt ducks than have a large violent men stomping me in the dirt." He only used football as a way to earn his college education, but never had any aspiration to be a pro athlete. Terry, who is now a Hall of Famer, shared that Phil was the quarterback ahead of him, who loved hunting more than the sport. The footballer said that Phil would come to practice directly from hunting with duck feathers all over him, but no one complained since he had the best arm and was an excellent shot. Phil married 15-year-old Marcia K. Carraway, whom he fondly calls Miss K, on the 11th of January 1966. They had a 16-year age gap, but that didn't matter, and she bore him 4 sons: Willie Jess, CEO of Duck Commander; Marshall Allen, known as the Preacher; Jason, Jace Silas, the Duckman, COO; and Jules, Jephthah, the youngest. Sometimes in his mid-20s, Phil was into several vices, including alcohol, diet pills, women, and black mollies, a very dark place with a devil-may-care attitude. There was even a time when he threw a woman across a bar and beat up the couple who owned the bar. He was quite violent when he was heavily intoxicated. Kay was able to convince the bar owners not to file charges, while Phil hid in the woods to avoid the authorities. Despite the unconditional love and support he had from his wife, he kicked her and their kids out of their home. The only upside to the story was that it didn't take long for Phil to realize what was important to him and begged Kay to come back into his life. Somewhere along the way, he found Jesus Christ and made a 180-degree transformation. It was a well-known fact that the Robertson family lived off their land, and with Phil doing well as a teacher, everything seemed to be great at home. However, somewhere along the way, his family experienced a financial setback. At the time, he looked for another way to provide financial stability for his family, and his friends encouraged him to invent an official duck call. Many people already noticed that he had a way with ducks, and during hunting season, they all flocked to him because of his unique duck call. It was said that Phil gave up a coaching career to focus on inventing a variety of duck calls, as he was quite frustrated with the ones being sold on the market. He said that duck hunters should have a duck call that imitated the real sound coming from a duck's mouth. Back in 1972, he came out with the first Duck Commander call, and it sold quite well for a beginning. He said that they sold $8,000 worth of duck calls in a year. He immediately registered a patent on that particular duck call, and a year later established his company called Duck Commander. Initially, Phil used his residence as his factory, as most startup businesses usually did. His production team consisted of his immediate and extended family. They assembled, packed, and shipped the products themselves. To market his duck calls, he went from store to store offering his invention. Oftentimes, his proposal was rejected. To augment their income, his wife and children went into commercial fishing as a side business. Eventually, his duck calls became huge with hunters, and from there his company produced other products, including instructional videos about duck hunting techniques and hunting scenarios from all seasons, which led to a reality TV series. A huge fascination with the Robertson clan arose, including their rugged fashion style. Most of them sported long hair and beards, which matched their tough and manly demeanor. The patriarch, Phil, agreed to star in the reality TV show to be called Duck Dynasty, which premiered on the 21st of March 2012 on the A&E cable network. It featured Phil, his wife Kay, and all their sons with their wives and children, plus Phil's younger brother Cy, who became a fan favorite. The family's zany adventures became an obsession with fans. The series dominated cable television ratings, with the first season attracting over 2.5 million viewers. The viewership percentage wasn't that huge, as compared to the others out there at that time, but there was already a buzz about it. When the second season aired, it tripled the number of people watching. Close to 7 million viewers a week were glued to their show. It started the Duck Dynasty craze in the US, and by the third season in 2013, it was attracting around 12 million viewers every week, providing an opportunity for everyone in the family, and they all benefited from the show's popularity. While Phil was the main reason his family became a phenomenon through Duck Dynasty, he was also the reason why the show attracted negative feedback. During one GQ magazine interview in December 2013, he made some remarks that made many people uncomfortable. When he was asked what was sinful, he said, "Start with homosexual behavior and just morph out from there. Bestiality, sleeping around with this woman and that woman and that woman and those men." He also made disparaging comparisons between the vagina and the anus. The LGBTQ community was deeply offended, and the cable network airing Duck Dynasty didn't have any choice but to release a statement. His personal views in no way reflect those of A&E Networks, who have always been strong supporters and champions of the LGBTQ community. They also announced that they had put Phil's status on an indefinite hiatus from the TV show. Due to the overwhelming outrage about Phil's views on homosexuality, many people didn't at first notice the racist comments he'd also made too about the lives of many African Americans in the South while he was reminiscing his childhood. He said, "I never with my eyes saw the mistreatment of any black person. The blacks worked for the farmers. I hoed cotton with them." He also said he never heard anyone complain about the white people. It didn't go well with the African American community, as they felt he'd insulted their history, as well as whitewashed whatever injustices black people encountered during that era in Louisiana. Phil was involved in many affairs long before converting to Christianity in the 1970s and becoming a cast member of the reality TV show. In a 2014 episode of his podcast, Unshamed, he revealed that he discovered that he had a daughter, Phyllis, with another woman. It all started when Phyllis sent a letter to Al, one of Phil's sons, claiming that Phil could be her father. His sons talked to him about it and researched the woman's background. Al said, "And I thought, even if it's not Dad, she needs to know it's not Dad." Phil eventually did a DNA test to settle the matter, and the results came back with a 99.9% match with Phyllis. He immediately contacted her, wanting to get to know her better. Kate was never really bothered by the discovery, since she had seen it coming due to his wild philandering days in the past. She welcomed his daughter into the family, and her sons were excited to meet her. Jeb even shared that it was just like a dream come true for them. Phil said that his wife had warned him over the years that someone would come out from his wild past to haunt him, and it certainly happened. Kay was happy because she'd always wanted a daughter. Phil officially introduced his 45-year-old daughter to his audience through his podcast. It was such a surreal episode for everyone. more so for Phyllis, who only started to search for her real father after her son's fiance brought home a DNA kit. That day, she discovered that the siblings that she knew all her life were just her half-siblings. While she was full of questions, she wasn't shocked because she had suspicions while she was growing up. Her half-brother said, "Either our dad's not your dad or everything we've been told isn't true." She shared that her husband assisted her in the hunt for her real father, and with the help of the internet, some of her questions were answered, leading to her discovery that Phil might be her real dad. When Phyllis found out that there was a huge possibility that her father could be Phil, she thought long and hard about how to approach him. She hadn't watched a single episode of Duck Dynasty before that, and was apprehensive about it. However, she was surprised by how cool Phil was when she went to see him preach the gospel at the Robertson family church. There was no awkwardness between them, and she felt that it was like a puzzle, with all the pieces just fitting quite right. On the podcast, he told her, "Phyllis, all I can tell you is, I'm glad you found me. I'm glad I found you." While Phil was reinstated into the TV show, following a huge outcry from his loyal fans objecting to his indefinite suspension, Duck Dynasty never fully recovered from the backlash against his controversial remarks. He was relegated to a recurring character and was never again promoted to the main cast. They lost so many viewers each season after the controversy, from 12 million to 8.5 million, and it went downhill after that. During the 6th season in 2014, they lost 4 million viewers and another 2 million during the next season. That number stayed up until the 9th season. However, in the last 2 seasons before it was canceled, it only generated 1.3 million viewers. A majority of the viewers blamed its demise on Phil's antics and politics. Other TV analysts thought his controversial beliefs, coupled with the brand's overexposure and repeated content in their TV series, made them incredibly boring. However, it's been reported that a spin-off series is poised to premiere in June 2022 called Duck Family Treasure. This time, it will be aired over on Fox Nation, which in 2020 acquired the license to include the Duck Dynasty series on their streaming platform. Their subscribers loved the idea of the Robertson family back on the small screen. This time, though, it would focus more on Jace, Jeff, and their beloved Uncle Si as they went on to hunt for a buried treasure. The TV executives also promised that the other members of the family would appear in the show. This would be the ultimate test. Could they still rejuvenate the former adulations of American viewers? Phil Robertson's business was touted to have grown to a $400 million empire. Everyone was stunned at the way his popularity skyrocketed that quickly. During its peak, Duck Commander sold over 1 million duck hulls in a year. They had several product tie-ins, including bagging that exclusive Walmart contract in which they offered their merchandise, including books, shirts, outdoor gear, and practically anything they can sell with their logo on it. It was a box office hit like no other, and even the Robertsons' wives had a clothing line and a bag line. It raised the family's net worth, making each of them multi-millionaires. The TV and reality industry thought that the Duck Dynasty craze would stay for quite a while, just as the Kardashians. Unfortunately, it was unknowingly sabotaged from the inside by no less than the patriarch of the clan. Thank you for spending some time with us. Make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss another video. We also handpick these videos, which we recommend you watch next. You can talk to us on all social medias or ask a question in the comments below. Thank you for being with us, and we'll see you back tomorrow.